Hey guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Tori and I talk about all things true crime and spooky. Today we are going to be discussing the active investigation of Nolan Wells after his unfortunate disappearance and then the discovery of his body after this 4th of July weekend. So I do want to give you guys a bit of a heads up. This is the first case that has made me cry while researching it in a very long time. I actually remember what the last case was that made me cry. I sat and thought about it, and it was Chris Watts back in 2018 when I was learning about the details of his young daughters and pregnant wife being brutally murdered, and like how scared his young daughter was. I can't even talk about it. When I learned about those details, that made me cry. And when I was learning more details about this case last night, I had to just take a break, step away from it for a second, because I was actively bawling learning the details of this case. And so I just want to give a trigger warning at the beginning of this video. I am a person who does a lot of true crime, and this was a very upsetting case for me. So you have been warned. However, with that being said, this is somebody's real lived experience. This is what happened to somebody, and I feel like it is our responsibility to hear people's stories. I feel like it is our responsibility to learn from what has happened to other people so that we don't end up in the same situations that they did. I just realized that my microphone was not on for the entire filming of my intro, so hopefully it sounds okay. We'll see. Maybe I'll have to re-record it. Let's get into the death of Nolan Wells. Before I get into this, I do want to say the same as I have with other cases. A lot of speculation around who is responsible for his death. There is a lot of speculation around it being a homicide. It is very much so possible that that is the case, and I am not here to sit here and tell you that that is not what happened. However, because it is an active investigation, it is not beneficial to Nolan, to Nolan's family, to investigators, to anybody to come up with theories and run rampant with them, saying for certain that somebody is guilty of something. I completely understand putting pressure on the media. I don't disagree with that at all. However, saying that somebody who you have never met before and you don't know a single thing about is responsible for harming one of their friends and it resulting in their death. Let's just wait until everything comes out. Let's wait until the autopsy comes back. There are a lot of details still missing about this case, and there have been a lot of details that I believe are probably not true that have come out about this case as well, and that just doesn't help. And to be so honest, if Nolan's friends are absolutely not responsible in any way, shape, or form, how hurtful is that? That they lost their friend, and Nolan would not want you to be sending death threats to his friends, especially if they didn't have anything to do with his death. These were the people that he was spending his holiday with, so we're gonna get into it. Nolan Wells was a football star, a college football star. He was 18 years old and from Ocean Springs, Mississippi. He graduated high school last year, and he was described as somebody who just lit up every single room that he walked into. He was a light. He was somebody that everybody wanted to be around. He sounds like he was amazing. And he was a star athlete and a strong swimmer. He was very well liked by his coach, his classmates, and the community as a whole. And for the 4th of July, he went out with his friends to Horn Island. This was something that they had done before. This was not a first-time thing. And these are a group of friends. This is where I'm saying, like, okay, there's misinformation out there, because what is true here? So I can't find exactly how long they've been friends, but the most reoccurring detail that I saw, something said it was like that they grew up together, but the most reoccurring year that they'd been friends since was their freshman year of high school. So these weren't like brand new friends that he just decided to go hang out with. These were people that he knew. And I do want to say, even though there's speculation around possibly that his friends have done something to him, his parents, as of today, July 17th, 2026, have not said anything against his friends. They have not said that they think they did anything to their son. All that they have said is that they want answers. That's all.
This is not how I wanted the world to meet my son, but here we are. So, as you know, I'm Christine Wells Wansley. I am Nolan Wells's mom. And Nolan is the kindest soul. He never met a stranger. He loved everybody. He didn't care if you were black, white, purple, green, looked like a marshmallow. Like, he just wanted everyone to be in peace with one another. He loved life, and God gave him this big heart, which always scared us. Me and his dad had conversations with him all the time, not just about the importance of understanding our history as black people, but also the importance of how you have to move in certain spaces. And it's not us being, feeding into racism or the stereotypes that comes with that. Unfortunately, that is just a matter of fact. There have been many cases, many instances that shows it's unfortunately a pattern that he did not like. He did not like that there was so much division, and I think that's why God gave him us. He was really a peacemaker. He wanted, like I said, everyone to be included. He never wanted to leave anyone out. He just, even at a young age, I don't know, he was, how old was he? No, not 18. So his father and I were having a moment, and as couples do, and even in that moment, he runs in the room with his diaper on, of course, and he starts dancing, because it was like he could feel the tension. He could feel that something wasn't right. So he was just a special kid. Like, he was a special kid, but again, just heart was so big. And we're gonna miss him dearly. But we are grateful, especially to our friend Tashima, who actually was one of the people who helped us that night. She went and picked up his cell phone from where it was, and then provided that to us, because we of course contacted authorities to figure out who to do the report with, whether it was the county or the city, which then turned into DMR, who I contacted immediately from there. But so our friend actually, when I called her, Nolan is best friends with her two sons, Jalen and Javon. When I called her, I said, Tashima, have you seen Nolan? He's missing. No one has seen him. No one has talked to him. The boys were actually with her sons. So they opened up their Snapchat, because a lot of the kids do have their locations where they're tracking one another. So one of the boys says, well, it's showing that, I can't exactly remember what his location was showing, but my Live 360 location was showing something completely different. It was actually showing that his phone was like he was on land. And so we ended up, she received the phone from that parent, and then we met up where his car was, which was at a separate location. There were issues obtaining the key, but even so, there was just a lot of...
Tell them about what happened with the key.
So I'm gonna let my husband tell you about that, because he actually went up to the door to get the key, because at that point, I was just not in my right mind. This has just been an awful situation.
So on this island, it's about 10 miles and only access the island by boat. And there was about 300 people on the island this day partying, enjoying the 4th of July celebration. And Nolan's friend did say that they had all been drinking since early that morning. And the entirety of Horn Island is about 4.2 miles. So 4.2 miles, 300 people. I have a difficult time believing that nobody knows what happened to him. I will not be saying any of the names of Nolan's friends because I don't want to. Their names are out there. I feel like they're already getting doxxed. The only name that I will be referring to attached to this case will be one of the mothers, but she literally put herself out there. These boys all deleted their social medias. I don't know if they're guilty or not, but if they're not, I am not going to make it easier to access them. Their names are out there. There's pictures of them with Nolan. There's plenty of articles on the case. You can find it. I just personally don't want to do that. It's my YouTube channel. While they were on the island, Nolan left his phone on the boat. This has been reported that it's because they were like swimming around, and so he didn't want to have his phone on his person. And this has been heavily speculated of like, oh, well, I don't understand why an 18-year-old would leave their phone behind. Okay, so I just went to Costa Rica back in May, and while I was there, either my boyfriend had both of our phones or I had both of our phones, or neither of us had our phones and we left them up in the Airbnb and we went somewhere without them. So we're on the beach. We left our phones with the people that were teaching us surf lessons. Any other time we kept them physically on our body. One of us was not in the water, or one of our friends who was on the beach would hold our stuff for us. If there hadn't been anybody, like, this makes sense to me. This is not weird to me. I understand why he would leave his phone on the boat. He doesn't want it to get wet. Had to anchor their boat out in the water and then swim to the island. It makes sense to me that they wouldn't want to bring their phones and stuff. So the last time that his friends who were with him say that they saw him was 3:00 p.m. and there was another sighting of him at 4:30 p.m. by his best friend who did not travel with the same group to the island, but he was there as well. So the boys don't leave until 4:30 p.m., so I'm a little bit confused. They say at 3:00 that he makes the decision he doesn't want to go with them. He wants to stay on the island and hang out with this girl that he met there that he was interested in. And so he was apparently going to stay and get a different ride. That would be believable, but if that's the case, why would he leave his phone on the boat? At that point, like, I understand not wanting to get your phone wet if you're going to be swimming around, but if you know that you're going to be potentially needing to get a different ride, but also something that I don't feel like is getting enough attention. I'm not trying to dog on them for drinking as minors whatsoever, but being inebriated, maybe he just didn't think, oh, I need my phone. Maybe he just didn't think that. It was said that he had left his phone sitting up on a dash with like 15 other phones. But the reason that this doesn't really make sense to me is that 3:00 was the last time that they saw him, and they went up to him and they were like, hey, we're going to get ready to leave soon. Do you want to come with us? And he said no. Then why did they not leave for another hour and a half? Like, why didn't they go back up? Like, why didn't they see him again before they left an hour and a half later? That doesn't really make sense to me. And at 4:30, the girl that he was talking to said that she saw him get on the boat with his friends. Now, the important part is here as well. I don't know. I'm guessing the investigators have talked to her, will talk to her, are figuring out exactly who she is. She says that she saw him get on a boat with his friends, but if she didn't know him before that day, was it the friends that he got to the island with, or were these different people that he'd met that day? Side note, I guess that the boat that he had gone out on, whenever they were headed back off of the island, it started to take on water and they had to call and get a tow. So all that really verifies is that they were in their boat on the water at that time. It doesn't verify who necessarily was in the boat. They say that Nolan didn't come back with them, but they're using that as if it's a bit of evidence, but it's really not. All it proves is that they got a tow. All it proves is that their boat was taking on water at that moment and they got a tow. That's all. 11 p.m. that night, one of Nolan's friends reaches out to his mom and lets her know that he is missing. I also read one report that he had let the Coast Guard know that Nolan was missing. I don't know how true that is. I only read it one time, but it is possible. The next morning, Nolan's coach actually has a boat and he took his dad out to start looking for his son. And I will say part of the reason that this case has fortunately gotten so much attention and so much traction so quickly is because his mom was quick to get on social media and post about it and say, hey, my son is missing. Will you please help me bring him home? Have you seen him? Have you seen my son? And as soon as all of the boys who were with Nolan got back, they deleted their Instagrams, they deleted their social medias, and they all got lawyers. Now, I wonder, were they advised to do this because one of their dads is an FBI agent and one of their moms is a judge? So, were they advised to do this? Because I have read this piece of information over and over while I've been doing like true crime investigation. If you're guilty, you need a lawyer. If you're innocent, you really need a lawyer. I just feel like that's not where my mind would immediately go if I knew my friend was missing. I wouldn't necessarily assume that my friend was dead. Also, they had his phone still, and the reason that his mom was able to figure out that they had his phone is because she had Life 360, and when they got it back, so his mom and aunt went through it, and they are pretty sure that there are things that were either deleted or that he didn't have his phone to be taking pictures at all during the day, which she finds very odd because he was a person who liked to be taking pictures all the time. So why would he have not been taking pictures when he was out celebrating on the 4th of July with all of his friends? So they did not find him on the 5th of July. They searched all day. They didn't find him. The following day, however, they did find his body. Unfortunately, he was deceased in the water. He was found at the northwest tip of Horn Island. There has been some speculation that he had left the island that night and then come back because there's a picture floating around the internet that people think is him. One of his other friends has actually come out and said, "Hey, that's me in that picture. It is not Nolan." There is also this screenshot of another post where this girl is saying that there was a different altercation going on and that she had seen Nolan on the ground. I wonder why she waited to share that information and why it would be something to post on social media instead of reaching out to law enforcement. That's like a pretty serious claim to make. I am going to submit her post here so that you guys can read it if you want to. Guess what I was going to say before about all of the boys getting lawyers right away is I understand that if they were the last people to be presumed seen with him, which they were not, the girl was, but if they were the last people to be seen with him and then he was to turn up deceased immediately after that and then they got lawyers, then I could be like, okay, well, that kind of makes sense because they look like they might end up becoming suspects and they're trying to protect themselves. But he wasn't even found. His body hadn't even been found yet. I got so upset when I was watching the video of Nolan's dad talking about how he would have gone out and searched for his son that night, but he couldn't because he didn't have a boat. And then at 5 a.m. the next morning, Nolan's coach had reached out to him, and by 6 a.m. they were at the dock going out to search for his son. The boat had been taking on water, so I would like to believe that it was just because they had issues, but also, according to the GPS that night, it does look like they used it again after it had been taking on water. So if I knew that my friend was missing and that the spot he had gone missing to was only accessible by water, like, I could not imagine how helpless his parents must have felt in that moment. What are you supposed to do? Swim 10 miles? I could not even imagine, and I don't think it necessarily means that they would have found Nolan that night. Maybe they would have, but they didn't find him the next day, so I think the chances of finding him in the dark that night were probably lower, but maybe they would have been able to talk to somebody who was still on the island who had seen something, who hasn't come forward yet. So the only person I did say before who I was going to actually name is the mother of one of the boys, who is Judge Ashley Cole, and she posted this public statement. Our family, along with the community, grieves the loss of Nolan Wells. Our thoughts and prayers are with Nolan's family. Our son loved Nolan dearly. Unfortunately, I feel it is appropriate for our family to dispel some rumors with facts based upon the social media attention that is being diverted away from the Wells family and their loss. Yes, I deactivated my Facebook, given the very heightened emotional state of social media right now. I fear for the safety of my child and my children. My husband and I have 6 children, and we covet their privacy. We do not believe it is appropriate for our minor children's photographs to be circulated throughout the internet, presenting potential threats to their safety. I graduated high school with Christine Wells Wansley. We are from the same community. I have the utmost respect for her and all of the Wells family. We mourn the loss of Nolan with them. Our prayers have been and will continue to be with them. My husband and I were not at Horn Island at any point on the 4th of July. No one in our family is trying in any way to impede with the investigation by law enforcement or to otherwise hamper the family and law enforcement's quest for answers. Interviewed by the Jackson County Sheriff Department and cooperated fully. He saw Nolan last at around 3 p.m. on July 4th. They left around 4:30 p.m. when the boat was taking on water and they had an issue with the bilge pump. I don't have a boat, so Nolan made a decision to stay on the island and return inland later with another group of friends. Yes, I am a judge. I also value transparency. I apologize if anyone was offended that I deleted my social media. There was no nefarious motivations in my deleting my social media. Social media has a lot of positives, but a whole lot of negatives. We live in a world of clickbaiting, sad but true. My family is hopeful that this information will help to redirect the attention to the Wells family and their need for our community's support. She almost had me until the end when she's like,
we live in a world of clickbaiting, sad but true.
girl, cry me a river. So the police were very fast to say that they don't suspect foul play, which whenever that happens, everybody assumes that foul play is involved because how did you make that decision so quickly? Family is insisting on a full investigation, and actually, Colin Kaepernick is paying for a private autopsy to happen in Washington, D.C. So it will be completely separate from anybody involved in Mississippi. There will be no bias possible. Most likely, the case will be presented to a grand jury once the investigation is finished. There will be a forensic inspection of his phone from the state and the family's experts, as his family believes messages were deleted off of his phone. On Monday, July 13th, one of his friends did go on Good Morning America and say that they're getting death threats. And honestly, the only thing that it seems like he clears up is that his boat was taking on water. They play that bit of the phone call when his boat was getting towed. It doesn't necessarily, like I said before, all it does is it places him with a timestamp on the water. And the only person that it places there is the one that they're able to physically hear in the phone call. So I'm going to say this, and it's probably not going to land very well among some people. I don't really care if you get mad at this, then it's not for you. Or maybe it is for you because you need to hear it. So there were 3 separate victims that I thought of when I started hearing about this case. When I first heard about his body being found and them needing to use dental records in order to identify it, which I do want to back up a little bit. Some reports that I'm reading say that dental records were required to identify his body. Other records are saying that his grandfather showed up and he was able to identify his body, and that dental records are just usually used as like a double confirmation, but that his mom was just too distressed to show up, reasonably so, and identify her son's body. Also, something else that I read said because he's in saltwater and heat in Mississippi, that could have been part of the reason that they needed to do it, that they needed to use dental records. But the very first thing that I read, so this is what is stuck in my mind, the very first thing that I read about his body being discovered was that dental records were required to identify his body because he had been beaten so badly that was the only way they could be sure it was him. And when I first heard that, the first thing that crossed my mind was Emmett Till's name. And I am in no way trying to speak on the experience of a person of color in America by any means. This is not my story to tell. And if I am saying anything incorrectly, please correct me in the comments. I am in no way trying to spread misinformation here. That is who I thought of first, was Emmett Till. And I thought about how his mom had an open casket because she wanted everybody to be able to see how badly her little boy was beaten. And I immediately thought, wow, you guys really haven't learned a thing. You guys are really not any better than you were back then. I learned about this in history class, and here it is repeating itself on the 250th anniversary of the country. That's disgusting. That makes me want to puke. Next person that I thought about, I don't know what his last name is. I wasn't able to find it, and I believe that he's a minor, so I don't really want to find it. But his first name is Marquise. I saw this video of Marquise before I saw anything about Nolan, and I'm going to play it here for you guys to watch, and I'll comment on it after.
Let's get going again. We got this.
Hey, they copied us. How dare you call it cool? Daddy, a lot of people have copied our house inside of the neighborhood.
Yeah, they're probably jumping.
What did you say that one?
Please said that word, Justin. I'm glad you can hear that from a mile away.
It's like, ah!
No, that was.
See how fast it's going?
Imagine if the thing hit freaking.
Ah!
What you just said.
I was fishing in the water. And I said,
Wait,
Fair, tell them to hold off the back and forth.
You can swim down, River, you fucking retard. I think I'm staying. Bro, how am I gonna get you back home? You don't think Mama Marquise is gonna be worried? Yeah, your mom. My mom's name. My dad's your mom is always worried about you. My dad's in prison. I think that's why. Your dad's in prison. We know. We can tell just by looking at you. Bro, we get you can't swim. Bro, just go get a kayak. Have a fucking life jacket on, Marquise.
I'll just wait.
Bro, you have a life jacket.
Bro, I'm black. It doesn't matter. It's not gonna save me.
Bro, yes it does.
Bro, I'll just find a way. Hey.
hi.
Yeah, they think I'm about to swim back, but I can't swim.
Bro, you have a life jacket.
I'm gonna die.
Standing right
Hold
now.
on to the
You
back
have to
part
go.
more.
On.
I'm just
You
trying to
did
get
that
over
to get over there.
We can get
We
you.
taught him how to swim.
Oh, so I can just like hold on to the back of the head.
Right here if you want.
Yeah, I might drown.
You won't drown.
You won't
I'm gonna
drown.
try to get
You're not going to drown. I promise you won't drown.
There you go.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Huh?
Hey,
What's your
Oh,
name?
my name is Marquise. But
Marquise.
everybody calls me Lamar because I go to like the Nolan.
Are you okay? Are you
Ma'am?
okay? Are you okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was okay getting over here. And they think I'm about to swim back. I can't even swim.
Good job right now.
Probably not holding on this. And it's my first time here.
It's your
Oh,
first
first time? Well, welcome.
Yeah.
How'd you get over here?
Yeah, what
They made me
happened?
take that way over there, and they had 2 life jackets on. I'm never coming back with y'all.
Yo, we told you if you were coming, we had a life jacket.
A life
makes
jacket.
you float.
This ain't even for a big kid. This for a little kid.
Oh my god.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm never coming back with y'all.
I didn't know what to say.
Fuck, his friends are fucking assholes.
I wonder how old he was.
So part of the reason I am showing that video is simply because when I was doing research about Nolan's case, I came across this white lawyer doing a reaction video, and I got maybe 3 or 4 minutes into it until I clicked off because he seemed very bigoted to me, and he was just talking about how it seemed so unlikely that this would happen, and oh well, 3 white boys, that doesn't mean blah blah blah, just implying that something like this isn't going to happen today. Something like this happens today to people of color every single day. And if you are a lawyer, I would think that you would know that. So this video of Marquise was fresh on my mind, and you can hear those nasty boys making monkey noises at him and making racist comments and telling him they can tell his dad is in jail by looking at him, and oh, what is Mama Marquise gonna think when when we tell her that you died? I think that they were either going to leave that boy to die, kill him, or traumatize him. And it breaks my heart when I hear him saying it's for a little kid, it's not for a big kid, when he's talking about the life jacket, because he's a kid. And the last person that I thought of when they immediately said that there was no foul play involved was Trey Reed, who passed away back in September of last year of 2025. He was found hanging in a tree on his college campus. Official reports now say that he had no broken bones, but other reports initially said that both of his legs were broken. So how is somebody going to hang themselves when both of their legs are broken? And I also thought about him specifically when I was researching this case because it also happened in Mississippi. Trey's family and Nolan's family both hired Ben Crump, a civil rights attorney, to pursue this case. I want to try to say this in the most delicate way possible and in the most respectful way possible because I am obviously a white person and I am in no way trying to say this is 100% what a person of color would or wouldn't do, because that is not my right, that is not my story, that is not my allowance. However, what I have researched from people of color, from what they have said, no person of color, simply because of history and of how they were treated, would choose to take their lives by hanging themselves in a tree. I don't feel like extremely public suicides where the body is found out in the open, especially on a college campus nonetheless, are very common at all from somebody who is mentally ill, from somebody who is going to commit suicide, but especially this way. I could not see with the history in the South of people of color being lynched. A man of color, an educated man of color, choosing to end his life that way and display his body for other people of color and other students and everybody to see. That was a message. Difficult of a time as I have speaking on all of these deaths, somebody needs to. And Trey's death didn't get enough attention. What happened to Marquise is not getting enough attention. Nolan had his whole entire life ahead of him. He was taken from his family, and they deserve answers, and he deserves justice. I send all of the love in the world to his mom and his dad. I do not post any of this with the intention of spreading hate or with the intention of sending anybody to spread hate to any of the people involved in this case. That's why I did not list off their names. These are not suspects. If they are made suspects, their names will be even more public than they are now. It will not be hard to find, but I will not be the one providing their information. I just hope that his parents get the peace and justice that they deserve. Thank you for watching my video. If you made it this far, be sure to go ahead and subscribe. I post true crime and spooky content. Have a great day. Bye.